David, my brother, nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Brandon Washington with Cosign Magazine. It's our pleasure to have you here. Can you just tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, where you come from, why are you here in Dallas today?
Well, my name is David McCullar. I'm originally from Detroit.
Okay.
East 8 Mile.
Hey.
Yeah. And so I opened the first mental health gym.
Okay.
And Nikki Shepard actually found me on Instagram, just how you found me on
Absolutely.
Instagram.
Yep.
And she saw what we were doing and wanted to have me at her event here at the Voice Conference.
Okay, cool, man. So tell us a little bit more about Inception. What is that? What is that? What do you all do? What was the purpose? What's the reason for you all even existing?
Right. Well, in 2007, I was suffering from anxiety and panic attacks, and I was looking for just alternative ways to alleviate those issues.
Definitely.
And the traditional route, there's only really two options to do that, which is either talk therapy or medication.
Pharmaceuticals.
So because I already knew, I was kind of into the self-help space, reading a lot of books on quantum physics and neuroplasticity, I understood that we can actually change ourselves.
Absolutely.
So in seeing that I had these issues, I didn't think that was it. I didn't feel like that was just, I'm just stuck in this pattern, and that these other alternative, these main sources is the way to do it.
Definitely.
So because I already was looking at another site that had information on these, just people with alternative thought processes on whether it was alternative therapies or just conspiracy theories.
Right, absolutely,
I mean, everything that you heard of that's like outside of the norm.
Especially when you have all the different mediums like YouTube, Google, you don't know what you really are accessing and how factual and actual it is.
So I got a hold of some sites that had some people talking about some things that were outside of the alternative, scope. And the one guy, his name was Lee Gerdes, had a technology called brainwave optimization. And I saw that technology, and because he was talking about he showed a woman who was depressed for 20 years, and she was out of depression within like moments by using this technology, and that sparked my interest for my anxiety and depression I was dealing with.
Was it instant when it hit you, or was it concept you had to keep going back to?
No, it made sense because I was already using, like, a lot of people, you've heard of binaural beats?
Yep.
A lot of people use binaural beats. I was already using binaural beats. This is in 2004, and this is all CDs. There was no, YouTube didn't have this stuff on there.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was using the CD-based form of it. So when I saw it, I already understood brain frequencies. I already understood delta, alpha, beta. I understood all those frequencies.
Where did that context come from? Was it just was it any like prior research? Was it schooling, or just kind of your own self-talk?
No, just from Holosync is the name of the technology. So that's why I kind of like I didn't know it as deep as I know it now, but I knew enough to know that frequencies can change the brain.
Absolutely, for sure.
So I flew out to Arizona to use that technology, me and my dad, and my symptomology dropped by 50% just in one day.
Wow.
Yeah, so in that point in time, we took that technology, we decided to bring it to Michigan. I started my first company, Neuro Fitness Center.
Dope.
And along the way, I had trained over about 1,000 people within a 7-8 year time frame. With all things you've heard of, things you never heard of. And again, this is not my background.
For sure.
But the technology, and because it gave it a layperson the ability to use it.
There's an intersectionality between the two, between technology and the science.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to my background is in information technology.
For sure.
So troubleshooting computers, that was
the same.
That was
the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So over that time frame too, I was not just training people. I was still on my journey because it's not just one thing.
For sure.
So I did over about 54 different healing modalities. I counted them directly. So in that time frame, so I was just going troubleshooting, seeing for myself, and then troubleshooting my clients. Okay, maybe you need to use this. Maybe you need to do that.
Absolutely.
That's really what doctors do. They call it practicing medicine.
You save a lot of money. You save a lot of money.
So I was just practicing using alternative forms versus the traditional route.
For sure.
Without having to be a therapist or a doctor or diagnosing people or treating or curing people.
For sure.
So within that time frame, I wanted to really take that concept that I had and make it more appealing to people, because everybody who was coming to the door was like the worst of the worst people.
I was going to ask, so what was the most extreme case that you had to deal with when it came to just the level of traumatic experience that?
All right. So we had like our first client had a major stroke. So when you think about trauma, a lot of times we think of mental, emotional trauma. This is physical trauma. And this is one of my dad's friends. He owned a construction company. His name is Johnson. And Johnson came to us, multi-millionaire at that time, had a lot of contracts in the city of Detroit, lost them all because of the stroke.
Wow.
And actually he had a house in Fountain Hills. And we were out in Scottsdale to train with the technology at that time. And Scottsdale to Fountain Hills is like 15 minutes away.
Okay.
So he said, stay in my house.
Right. Okay.
And so he's in the hospital bed back home, like, hey, when you come back, we're going to train him.
Dope.
He's our first client.
Dope.
Within, I want to say, man, 7 days,
Wow.
he came to us walking on a cane. When he first came, we had to pick him up and bring him into the office, like
was a
assist
vegetable.
him for the most part, And just nothing but brain training. His physical therapist, he went back to his physical therapist.
Wow.
They said, man,
Wow.
nothing we can do
That's
for you.
insane.
You making strides that
Wow,
we
that's
can't
crazy.
even do.
Damn.
And that was all through that technology. So that was one of the worst. And now if you see him, like, he built my Inception.
Wow.
He's a contractor for Inception.
Dope.
You would never know he had a stroke.
Dope.
So that's our very first client. That's when we knew we had something like big.
For sure. So just looking at the onset, of all this, at an early age, was there anything that kind of, when you look back, in hindsight, was there anything that really led you to be doing what you're doing? Was there any like when you look back, was there any glaring moment like, that's when it started? That's when
Two things. One, being an entrepreneur. Remember, my dad asked me. I was probably about 10 years old. He's like, "What do you want to do?" Like
For
one
sure.
of those talks. I said, what I don't want to do is work for somebody else. I don't want nobody telling me what to do. He said, "You want to be an entrepreneur?" I said, "That's what I want to be."
Yep, that E word.
And my dad, we had a landscaping company from the time I was about 8 years old till I was 21. So
Dope.
while kids were off playing in the summer, I was with my dad
Making
working.
moves, working.
Yep. I always had money in my pocket.
For sure, absolutely.
But so that sparked the entrepreneurial part, and then the other part was that I was highly involved in like the church organization, and I wanted to help people.
Okay.
But I got disillusioned with that too, because I saw people going to church and doing the same thing over and over and over, but there was no change in people who had issues.
Let's unpack that a little bit. So, looking at the Black community, looking at obviously as a sample group, being a group of people who suffer from a lot of trauma, whether that's in our present lives or transgenerationally over time, how do you see the work that you're doing with Inception impacting in a positive way the Black community or all people in a way that they're doing the work constantly, consistently to address these different issues?
It's impacting them in a great way, because one is letting them know that their issues are real and valid, and that you're not just going to pray it away, and that it's not because your belief is not strong enough.
Right, absolutely.
It's because you have some very generational trauma. We call it, in the church, you call it what? Generational curses.
Yep.
But really what it is it's environmental.
Absolutely.
Reason why diabetes run in your family, because nobody runs in your family, is the saying, right?
That's hilarious. I ain't heard that one.
You ain't heard that one? So
that's a good one.
So when you are in an environment that there's constant stress, ongoing trauma,
Right.
your body's going to adapt to that.
For sure.
And as you get older, when you go to try to have relationships, that is the setting for these relationships to be a certain way.
It goes from habit to personality. Now it's your existence.
It's your whole neurophysiological pattern.
For sure, absolutely.
So I move totally out of spirit. Like, people always talk about spirit. Well, spirit is not impacted. Spirit is fine. It's the conduit that's blocked.
For sure, absolutely.
Spirit has to flow through. But if
sure.
the conduit is blocked, then spirit is going to really not be able to be expansive. It's going to be shut down.
For sure.
So what I see with people, again, for our people, is like they come in and they hear that, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. And here's the tools that we can begin to really help to change. And when they can sleep better, that's a huge.
Absolutely.
That's huge for the nervous system and for them to have their faculties again. Memory, focus, concentration, mood.
That's a huge
all
part.
all that's altered just from dealing with the instinctual part of you, not dealing with Brandon, dealing with Brandon's brain.
Right, absolutely.
Because they're like two different entities.
Absolutely. So, to kind of touch in, make it a little bit more personal. So I had my first, experience with like mental health or like anxiety, or even just because I know like on your Instagram page there was a traumatic release response,
trauma release,
trauma release, and I actually told you this. We have a conversation via Instagram, and so I was at work, and my supervisor didn't show up, but the energy that was going on around the office was no one knew where he was at.
Right.
So instantly coming from the background, I come from neighborhood violence, gang violence, seeing people be killed, seeing people be severely beaten, all these different things like that, and it impacted me on in a very traumatic way, but never really doing the work to unpack it. And then you add all these different things when it comes to like the release, and also the sense of like I said, being relieved in a situation where we basically got to his home, and I didn't know what we were going to walk into, because like I said, the energy of what everyone was kind of moving with was like, we don't know if he's dead, if he's been locked up, if he committed suicide. Like, we just didn't know. So we got to his home and we knocked on the front door. He didn't come to the door. So the two people were with other co-workers, and actually the COO of the company, it's an anesthesia company I work for, so healthcare. And he's like, let's go to the back and see. And I'm like, okay. Now, like my fight or flight is really going off because I don't know what I'm about to walk into. So we jump his fence.
Wow.
So this is Texas.
Okay,
So like,
it's a big fence.
For the very fact that everybody got a gun, you know what I mean? So
right.
like, so this thinking about, okay, like I am putting myself in a situation where my life could be ended. No one really knows what's going on inside the apartment. And when we got to the back of the apartment, the door was cracked open. So instantly, like I just started assuming the worst. And then right when we touched the doorknob, he comes out the apartment, and literally like right then and there, my body just goes into this. I didn't know what the hell I was feeling, but it was a sense of relief because like he's okay. But as soon as he kind of let us know everything was good, we jumped the fence again. As soon as I got over that fence, I started walking. Like I literally could not stop crying. Like my body just went into this. So I didn't know if it was if I was having an anxiety attack or if it was a trauma release.
No, it was your body. It's your body trying to normalize and discharge, because when you have traumatic events that happen, energy cannot be destroyed. It only can be transformed. So the energy that you use to go into that home, that's still in your body, right? And the moment that you found out that it was over with, your body's trying to release it.
Some kind of way.
Because if you don't release it, now it's locked in your body. And you think about your ongoing traumatic situations, from shock trauma to developmental trauma. Shock trauma is these hard traumas that we have, like if a car accident, if a bomb went off, you hear it. But developmental traumas is an ongoing thing. You're in an environment that constant like emotional abuse, neglect, abandonment. That's ongoing. So all the times that those traumas happen, if the body is not discharging, is locked in the body. So you were talking about autoimmune issues, and all your symptomologies is pretty much kind of wrapped up in that. And you can start looking into the environment of chemical traumas and what we breathe in and things of that nature. But really, it's the body being stuck in a state of protection. But the protection mechanism is just burning through all your resources. You only got so many runs, jumps, skips in you. But if it's always on at a faster rate, like dogs, they say have a lifespan based on the amount of breaths that they take.
Wow. That's very.
So if you have a dog that's always panting, well, their lifespan is decreased. If you think about it, if we breathe like that, our lifespan would probably be decreased too. You want to take longer,
right? Because you're not getting the
breaths.
oxygen to the brain as well, man. So let's talk about triggers. So looking at all these different triggers that we either experience or see, how does the triggers play a role within our own mental health and how we navigate these traumatic experiences?
So the triggers happen from, again, if you think about the trauma that's happening, your brain is going to basically take a what we call neuroception, picking up everything in the room and saying, okay, so if your mom and dad was having an argument, they were fighting, there's a physical altercation, well, what's going on in the environment at the same time? I hear music. So this song, my brain is making an association to that song and to this event.
For me, not to interrupt, but as a kid, I always associated male with negative energy, or just like a male, like as like mail, like when you get like in the mailbox, like the mailman, like you bring the mail. I'm sorry, so like mail, actual physical mail. And my parents will always argue via the mail because of bills.
Okay.
So like the older I got, I would never.
So now you open mail and you
instant trigger. Like so, I never opened mail because of the very fact that as a kid, mail was associated with pain and argument and bills. You know what I mean? So like it's something I had to address because you open them damn bills up. You know what I mean? In those student loans. So so I definitely understand what you mean when you say that. So
all those triggers that you think that from experiences that you have. I mean, well, how many triggers do you have?
Right.
And your nervous system again is stored there. Animals don't have post-traumatic stress for the most part. Non-domesticated animals don't because they discharge the energy. So again, that's stuck in our body. So you have an instinctual response to mail, even though you know consciously, Brandon knows I'm okay, but why am I tripping out about the mail? Because it's about the triggers.
For sure, absolutely.
That the brain has just made associations and patterns to. So as you get older and you go into relationships, am I really reacting to this person in front of me, or am I reacting to past triggers? And it's typically not that person.
Absolutely.
And when we look at our childhood traumas, a lot of it comes from our parents.
Right.
So you're not just in a relationship with one person, it's 6 of you in a relationship.
Right.
It's you, your mom, your dad, her mom, her dad. So when you're in that and you're reacting to one another, you got to step back and say, man, this is not you.
Right.
This is my stuff, and you have to have a sense of awareness to
Absolutely.
know
Awareness
that I'm
is
just
key.
triggered. But the awareness for us is not present because 95% of our day-to-day activity is unconscious. We don't even know.
Yes, sir. 90 to 95% of our day, you know.
Our day. And 90,000 thoughts that we have in our brain, 60 to 90,000 thoughts running. The same thoughts are reoccurring.
Right.
We're not having new thoughts.
Right.
So the awareness and the tools that we use, and we can go talk about that too, the tools we use help you to give you that awareness and that space to now just not be triggered, but to actually be calm.
For sure.
And actually the triggers fall away. You know, and that's the first thing for some of my soldiers who've come in brain trained. He had triggers to hearing Arabic music.
Wow.
One of my soldiers. And so first thing he did within the first couple of days of doing brain training is he would go to an Arabic restaurant. Michigan has the largest Arabic population in the country.
Really?
If you don't know that.
No, I didn't.
So so it's easy to find an Arabic restaurant up the street.
Did not know that. That's interesting.
So he would go to Arabic restaurants and see how he would respond, because normally he responds with, heart palpitations and things of that nature. He goes into the environment and it's like, those triggers aren't there. That's because they're wrapped up in the nervous system.
Definitely. Wow, man. So this, looking at what you all are doing right now in Michigan, you all are opening up a new location in California. Can you tell us a little bit more about the location in LA?
Yeah, well, so Nikki is Nicole Shepard is our first licensee. Okay. And we have at Inception, we have like 6 different services. So it's very comprehensive. But our brain training is our foundation. Okay. It's our phase 1 of what we do for everybody. I don't care who comes through that door. They say, what do I do? You brain train.
For sure.
Right? Everything else can kind of come after the fact. And so what we're going to do, because it's easier to open up Inceptions and have brain training because of the barrier to entry. And so she's going to do a mobile setup within LA.
Dope. That's dope.
And get that started right away, and then we'll begin to put that around the world and
I love that.
the world as well to pop those up. Because if you think about it,
you
think about, I'm stressed out. Well, it's Friday, I'm going to go to the bar. Well, why don't you just go brain train? Because that's going to give you more relief than that drink.
And if it's mobile, it meets you where you at, rather than you have to go to.
Well, eventually I'll have it set up where, like Zeal, you familiar with Zeal?
No.
It's a mobile massage company.
Okay.
So we'll have like mobile brain training, where you can just get an app, pull out your app, and then request a brain trainer person to come to you, set you up on site, brain train. Cool. And then we'll have our locations as well.
Definitely, man. Looking at what you're doing right now with Inception, what's the ultimate goal? What do you want it to look like at when you reach that pinnacle, if there is one? What do you want to do? How do you want to impact the world and society with the work that you do?
Well, we're gonna change the world, man, just awareness and not just the tools. The tools is one thing, but it's the conversation. Like you inbox me and you said, man, you made me aware of this. So you had now your awareness changed.
That cognitive dissonance. So now you can't really go back because you're not aware.
Once your awareness changes, then you know you can do something about it. Instead of going to get the drink, you know, oh, I'm in fight or flight right now. But people don't know that.
Right.
So being able to educate people through platforms, normalize not mental health in terms of, because the word mental health typically for people think about person who's schizophrenic or the worst part like that's not mental health.
Right.
Like mental health is this this level playing field that we're all moving from that one end of mental health to mental illness, just like our physical health.
What language should we be using, or what termage?
I don't really like the word mental health.
I don't either, but it's like
because it separates mental from physical, and it's like, dude, you can't separate the two.
Right.
They're one and the same. Mental health is physical health. Physical health is mental health. They affect each other. The mind-body connection, and most people don't know about mind-body connection. You can believe yourself into health.
Right, absolutely.
That's what the term placebo. They give you a sugar
effect.
pill. Hey, this is gonna cure cancer. Next you know, your cancer cured. What happened? I believed it.
The power of the brain.
Power of biology of belief. So the mental health thing is like, oh, mental health. It's like, no, it's all the same thing. It's all the same. It's the driving force, and I would say the mental health is the driving force behind your entire existence.
Absolutely, yeah.
You've seen The Matrix, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So you know, if you follow my posts, you know I love The Matrix. I talk a lot about that, and
I just actually started rewatching it again by you even mentioning it. 'Cause I just wanted to tap in because I watched it as a kid, but I wanted to see it again.
So when Neo came out of the Matrix. And Morpheus, he took him back into the Matrix, and he was supposed to jump over the building. He fell, and he hit his face, and he got out of the Matrix, and he was bleeding. He said, "I thought you said it wasn't real." And Morpheus said, "Your mind makes it real." He said, "So if you die in the Matrix, do you die outside of the Matrix?" He said, "Yes, because the brain, the body can't live without the mind."
Absolutely.
So this is the driving force. If this is sick, this is going to be sick.
Everything is going to follow suit.
So, but at the same time, if you have a physical injury, it does affect the psyche. Now, if you can't run, like when I tore my Achilles, I had this cast on my leg for like I don't know how many months, and it felt like it was suffocating, and that was affecting my psyche. So my mood is definitely affected.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
So they do both. They work in conjunction. So I think that we need to become integrated and stop trying to separate stuff.
Right, absolutely. I appreciate it, man. So are there any lasting things you want to just, talk about or just kind of, give us more light to in regard to Inception, the work that you're doing, the work that you're looking forward to do?
Sure. Let's just talk about, again, normalizing just the conversation and normalizing the tools and understanding that you're not exempt. No one's exempt. And that's probably what I'll talk to them about when I get on stage up there is that don't think that just because, you're not on medication or whatever that you're good. So back to that playing field, mental health, mental illness. If somebody dies tomorrow in your family, are you well? You're not well.
Right.
If you get a cold tomorrow, are you well?
Nope.
I'm not well. So your mental health is constantly a seesaw.
For sure.
We're all in this flux, in this continuum, and nobody's exempt from it.
Definitely.
People always want to bring the person in with the worst things. They think, well, I'm bringing my son or daughter in and they have X, Y, and Z. That's just the one with the identified patterns. That thing exists in your family, and I don't mean in your DNA. I'm talking about in your family unit.
Sure.
Caused this issue for this person. Specifically for kids, why do you think they exhibit specific patterns? Well, what environments are they in?
Right.
There's only two environments that you're in.
Environment breeds behavior.
School and home. So where is the trauma? And if it's both, that's too much uncertainty.
Absolutely.
You gotta have some certainty somewhere. If you're at school and you're unsafe, and you run home and you're unsafe, I mean that's when you have all these mental, emotional, and now physical issues. 70 up to 90% of doctors' visits are due to stress-related illnesses.
Yep.
Even diabetes people always think about heart attacks as like, or high blood pressure.
I was going to ask you.
Oh, you ate too much salt. So, like, we really conditioned for this, and this is the dumbest.
Absolutely.
This is the dumbest thing.
Me and Ruby had literally had that conversation a week ago. It's like, go ahead.
It's not salt.
Yes, it's not salt.
Oh, eat so much salt. It's your nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive. So strokes, same thing. High blood pressure, you're in overdrive. Adrenaline, cortisol, is all amped up. So I've had a cousin who was on 4 different blood pressure medications. He came in and started brain training. He got off all blood pressure medications.
Because correlation doesn't equal causation.
It's the food. It's not the food. Like, yes, you can change your diet. Like, I did all of this stuff without even. I tried to do this raw thing for a second, and it was just like my anxiety was all still there. Chemistry versus function, right? So our culture, Western society, is all about chemistry. Let me give you this pill. Take this nutritional supplement. So if my gas tank has a leak in it, I don't care how much. If I get the highest grade gas. That doesn't change the leak.
Right, absolutely.
So you can put the best petrol in there, but until you change the leak, you have a functional issue.
Absolutely.
So our traumas are functional issues that's causing us we have leaks. And we're burning through our resources faster because we're always on the go. We're always internally activated.
Man.
So as we move forward, we're going to be able to observe ourselves in a way that we never could before. If you think about having a car dashboard, you can see all your gauges and know, like, oh, I'm in this pattern. Yeah, you can change it.
For sure.
If you go into the hospital, they have all these tools. We have all these tools. Why? All these tools are nothing but tools for awareness. Oh, your blood pressure is high. Or, it's all to give us information.
Absolutely.
Because we are not aware.
Absolutely.
Right? So we'll have more tools, but one of the best tools you're going to have is yourself and being able to tap in and understand what's going on for you. When you jump the fence, now you have awareness. Hey, I'm shaking. It's okay. I'm aware. I have a reference point. We have to become and again integrate back with ourselves and with the earth. We're like so disconnected from the earth to the point where, if you think about it, they're having this conversation about like climate change. Well, no, we're not causing climate change. Does it really matter? Does it matter if you are or you're not? Because you still should take care of it, right?
Absolutely.
We want to wait till we at the wit's end, and then now we're rushing.
Right.
And that's how we all are. I was the same way. I didn't know. I mean, these signs kept coming up, but I really didn't know what to do with it. Because I'm just hearing stress, and I'm like, well, what does that mean?
And that's like, I don't stress.
I said the same thing.
I don't stress.
Listen,
I don't stress.
I lived in South Florida for 6 years, and my mom came down there. I just moved down there. My mom came down there, and she looked at me. She said, "You look stressed." I said, look stressed. I said, "There's palm trees outside.
Life is good.
You talk about palm trees and sunny. I'm not stressed." Dude, I was stressed to the max. I just didn't understand the language and what that meant, because it's such a just. What does it mean? Stress is nothing but a defense mechanism. Your body doesn't feel safe to the environment. Well, I was working a job. I was working at this basically call center that was like a sweatshop.
Like most call centers.
I mean, they had security guards with guns. We had to walk through metal detectors. They didn't have no windows in there. We had a button on our phone that was called AUX, AUX, auxiliary. If you hit that button to go take a break, even a bathroom break, you drop down to minimum wage.
That's crazy.
They was all about productivity. If you're not available to take a phone call,
that's sick.
Man,
that's sick.
So it was a high burnout job. That's why they had security guards with guns. Like people going postal, like come in there and shoot up the place because you're so stressed from this job.
You in South Florida too. That's his own space.
And no windows. I mean, I don't even know what time it was.
Damn.
So when you log into the building, you had a badge. So you take your badge, you hit F1, deet, deet. And from that time that you log into the building, well, guess what? You're not logged into your phone to take a call. So from that time, just to walk to your phone, you getting paid minimum wage.
Damn.
It was like a technological sweatshop, man.
That's crazy. And when you look at that, those same people who work in those jobs are going home to the same environments, raising the same children, breeding that same environment, and that behavior is going to just be.
So I saw those environments at work, and when I open my business, I'll never have it like that. My Inception is so chill. I come in the door, I'm like, y'all got it made, and they can speak from a place of experience,
for sure,
in their own story. Versus just being a salesperson. I'm not sales, and I think that's why a lot of people gravitate to me, because I'm not trying to sell you something.
Right, absolutely.
This is just my story, and this is
going to
what
benefit you at the end of the day. This is
Yeah.
going to help you become the better version, the best version of you.
But the other side, the flip side of that whole thing is that me and my dad thought that once we had what we had, like, whoa, man, we're going to have a line out the door. Like, people are going to rush in, like, they going to want it. It doesn't work like that. Just because you have something that's going to help people to get better, people don't want to get better.
Right, because change is the scariest thing for a lot of people.
There's a meme on Instagram that said, it's a guy in the front said, how many people want change? In the audience, everybody raised their hand. Hey, yeah, I want change. And then he asked the question, how many people want to change? No answer. It's like, because, change is like, regardless of how traumatic our environments have been, if you've been conditioned for that and that's the norm of life, then going to peace feels abnormal, and even peace, I don't want it because I'm not used to it.
It's too hard. It makes people want to go back to the space.
Hey, listen, I mean, you ever dated someone who's had physical abuse, been abused? You can be the best person in the world to that person, and they're waiting for the shoe to drop, and to the point that they'll even create a situation and say, you know what,
child,
there's no spark between me and you. I need somebody with a spark. And then as a man, or even as a woman, you think it's something lacking in me. That's why there's no attraction. But the attraction that you're looking for is really, it's a trauma spark of dynamite. It's going to blow up in your face. Really what you're looking for is what you're used to.
Right, absolutely.
So if you're used to drama and everything is this too good. Like I gotta mess something up. This feels too feels too right.
Too happy. Like, oh no, I feel too at peace. Because one thing, like I said, and it's something I had to address, is like, yo, I will feel guilty for being happy. Like, yo, something bad gotta happen. Something bad is about to happen because of the very reason of, you know, that's what I've been.
So think about us for even wealth, like black people in wealth. Like we're conditioned not to have money. Go ask probably some of the richest black people. I guarantee you, as they start getting money, they were scared because they're like, "What's gonna happen?" Because I'm not used to having money.
Right.
So you think, because you almost feel like you're not even deserving of it because you've been conditioned for lack.
Right. Man, that's heavy. So, as we wrap up, is there a charge that you want to give to the people? Something that we can look forward to, that we need to be doing every day to do the work in our own space, for the fact that Inception may not be in that city and town.
Right.
What charge do you give to the people moving forward to do the work?
One, I would say just raise your level of awareness and understanding. Look up fight or flight response. Look up the freeze response. Become highly educated on those two things. And then also and
knowing how you respond in those.
Knowing your pattern. I always say know your pattern.
Absolutely.
Right? Because I know typically I'll go into freeze about things. Because normally whatever pattern that you kind of started off with at a young age is what you're going to continually do.
I'm a fight. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So knowing your pattern is what's going to give you some power to be able to kind of change it.
Absolutely. There's definitely power in that.
Then two, make a list of your traumas. You know, so you can know and understand how your childhood and even this present moment, these present days is affecting you. Because you can't change something if you don't know it's affecting you.
Absolutely.
That's if you walking around with the tissue on the bottom of your foot and everybody's like trying to laughing at you. You got a tissue and you don't know. You're oblivious.
Right. Yep.
And it's not till you get it off till you become optimized. It's not until you can look at your traumas and see how it's affecting you to be able to change it.
Definitely.
You know, if whatever you resist will persist as well. So when you look at these things, don't be in denial about it.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is a stage of grief, though. Mm-hmm. You will be in denial, mm-hmm. but understanding that you got to keep processing.
For sure.
And understand that time does not heal all wounds. Don't mm-hmm. think just because so-and-so died 10 years ago that I'm over it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're not over it.
Definitely.
Like specifically for someone who's like a mother or father, if you lost your mom or your mm-hmm. dad, or even if they weren't ever present, mm-hmm. that's a grief ongoing.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
You know, so we have to become aware of things that's happened to us. So making that list, understanding your pattern, and then begin to look at alternative methods to kind of mm-hmm. help. You know, I know Inception is not everywhere, but you can look for things like acupressure, acupuncture. Mm-hmm. You can do flotation therapy. Look up neurofeedback. There is neurofeedback. It may not be our form or it may not be with us, but mm-hmm. still go out and trying to find these things to help you. So I would say, yeah, just do that in terms of raising your level of awareness of self.
Definitely.
And then actually taking that awareness and taking action.
Definitely.
You already do it.
Definitely.
You're already taking
mm-hmm.
action.
Yep.
It just may not be resourceful action. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna drink. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna smoke.
Yeah,
and it's fine if you do those things, but it's a difference between doing them because you literally consciously just choose to do it versus I'm doing it because I can't self-regulate.
For sure.
And I need it to self-regulate.
Definitely.
And one of the biggest ways we self-regulate too is food.
Man, we can go a lot into that, man. But Dave,
yep.
I appreciate you, brother. Once again.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Cosign Magazine, it's Cosign Couch. Dave McCullar, I am Inception. Appreciate you. We out. Thank you, brother.